Well, I reckon me and Christchurch have something in common. We're both on the journey of recovery. Christchurch from the earthquakes, me from my addiction.
Is Damian a good bloke? Yeah, most of the time.
He's a caring soul. He works damn hard for his people, and he's real.
He's got a lot of his own life experience. He doesn't claim to be perfect.
What was rock bottom like? It was horrendous. I was in the worst relationship I've ever been in. I was married to marijuana and heroin for 21 years. Any human relationship I had was my side chick, really.
There's a great quote from Muhammad Ali, actually, who says that if you're the same person at 50 as you were at 20, you haven't actually lived.
Well, I was born in England, came out when I was 6 years of age with my parents, one brother, one sister, nuclear family, Catholic boy. I got into the punk scene as a 17-year-old in Auckland. Punk standard for a big future society, to be honest. It was DIY. We were doing our thing and just an overpowering feeling of fun and unity. The old adage, sex, drugs and rock and roll, it was pretty much it. You know, I found women and I found a music that I liked and I felt really, really empowered. That's the sum total of my addiction, is I found something that made me feel really good. Heroin addiction was just hand to a glove. I learnt really, really early how to lie. It got so bad that I very nearly died at 19. I had a palfium overdose just by being greedy, honestly. It was just luck and good hospital care that I didn't die at 19. You reap what you sow. It was so awful that my only choice I had in my head with my mental state and my addiction was I just want to go to sleep and not wake up. So I made that decision to try and take my own life. And they put me in Hill Morton Hospital, which is a mental institution, and then they shipped me up to rehab. Did I lift myself out of it? Yeah, absolutely I did. It was a simple conversation I had like everybody has in the morning when you first wake up, peaceful mind. And I'm just thinking, I'm lying to everybody around me, but I'm lying mostly to myself. And if I don't get honest, I'm going to die being an addict. I'm never going to stop. So I got out of bed, flushed my stash down the toilet, which is the first time I've ever done that. And I headed down to a lunchtime AA meeting and found a sponsor, really, really strong sponsor, and just listened to what he had to say. And his message was really, really strong. And I thought, whatever he's got, I want that.
I saw him a few times and I was quite concerned about Damian. I could see that he was not well. I could see he was jaundiced. I could see he had difficulty concentrating. He just was very unwell.
I found out that I didn't come out of addiction unscathed 2 years after that final recovery. And it was a kick in the balls, to be honest. I'd done so well to get 2 years of sobriety up, I felt. And all of a sudden, it came back that I was Hep C positive.
I think what hepatitis C has taught me is that we're here for one single purpose. I don't think we get anywhere with labeling people or discriminating against people based on how they acquire the disease.
The drug scene in Auckland at the time was quite sketchy because there was no AIDS in that time. This is 1979, 1980. We didn't even know what hepatitis C was.
So hepatitis C was discovered as an entity back in 1989. In the 15 years preceding that, we knew that there was a disease that caused hepatitis. We did not know what it was called. Till then, we weren't able to visualize the virus under the microscope, and they used molecular biology to discover that the virus required 3 different proteins to replicate. Scientists were able to visualize the crystal structure of these proteins. They were able to understand the virus, which they called hepatitis C.
At the time, it was a jailable offence to be in possession of any paraphernalia like syringes and needles. So one group of us, around about 20 strong, used the same needle for 12 months. 4 people in that group are not with us today through liver cancer or cirrhosis of the liver, breakdown of the liver.
In Damian's case, he had such advanced liver disease that he would have almost certainly died within the next 3 to 5 years with liver disease.
When he was really sick, they were saying things that they couldn't guarantee what his quality of life was, how long, if he got well, how long he would live for. There wasn't much hope.
After that initial diagnosis in 2002, the hospital staff decided to try me on interferon. It was a horrendous treatment. It's like having the flu every day. And I lasted 3 weeks. We tried it again and I managed to stick with the whole 12-month course. My virus was undetected after 11 weeks and I did the big happy dance. And it wasn't till after the treatment, 1 week after the treatment, my viral load completely came back again. So we realised that hadn't worked.
I think art for Damian is pretty much what makes him up as an individual.
When I was painting these, people were coming up and thanking me for putting the paintings up. And I was saying to them, no, thank you for letting me put paintings up in our community.
Being in recovery, learning so much about himself as well, I believe that that's been what's kept him moving forward and also giving back as well to other people.
I had no idea whether or not I'd be any good working in the addiction sector. When the Christchurch earthquakes happened, my print factory fell down, and it was, for me, it was a message. It's like, okay, you've got nothing to lose now. Let's see if you're any good. When it was my turn to get into recovery, there were about 3 people. My sponsor was one of them, and my drug and alcohol counsellor was another, that were just there for me, that made me feel solid. And for me, I thought if I could be that person for one person, then there's a reason for me to be walking around this earth. And I firmly believe I'm in a lucky position as a peer support worker to be able to say, hey man, I know how you feel. I've been there and done that.
He knows what that battle's like, to try and get on top of life, to be battling the system, to be battling other through agencies. Because of that experience, I think, is what makes him excellent at what he does.
Research to understand mechanisms of disease is absolutely crucial to identifying cures for the disease.
When clinical trials came in, they were really, it's almost like the golden ticket.
HCV is a great example of, 20, 30 years ago, it really was a death sentence. And by having early phase trials, it gives patients a choice and an option.
I was so relieved to be able to have that chance.
A clinical trial is a process that we use to test new medicines, primarily for safety, which is the first phase of the testing, and then obviously for efficacy. So we want to make sure it's safe and we want to make sure it works.
February the 24th, 2015 was the day that they chose to put me on the treatment. And on February the 19th, 5 days earlier, I got an internal bleed of the esophagus. I was rushed to hospital, put into an induced coma for 24 hours. Had a second bleed of the esophagus, was given only a 20% chance of survival. When I came to, they were all shocked. My family had come down from Auckland to say goodbye to me. My friend Carla had to write my will while I was sitting there, help me write my will. And 5 days later, I had a third bleed that they said was going to be unsurvivable, but somehow through transfusing my whole body's blood 3 times over and eventually putting a shunt into my liver, they bypassed my portal vein and stopped me from bleeding to death.
Were you there when he nearly died?
Yeah, I was several times. I sat through him having 3 major bleeds. That was really difficult. Sitting with somebody in hospital when they're continuously asking you if they're going to live and you can't give them an answer is really hard.
We're on. This is Damian John Holt talking today on, what are we, Friday? A week ago he was about to do a massive bleed and now look at him. A little smile would be good, just,
I think that Damian survived because he's stubborn. He's really stubborn, and I don't think that he wasn't ready to go. He has a lot more to offer to the addiction sector in supporting people to become well.
When I recovered, I still had the hepatitis C virus. So I was very lucky. I was given the treatment on compassionate grounds. Instead of the 12 weeks, they decided to go on the 24-week course to make sure. They were confident. I wasn't. But finally, they cleared the hepatitis C. It was undetected on the final test. And the mental and physical lift that gave me was just beyond words. I felt I'm going to live now, you know. First person I rang was my brother, and life has just got steadily better and better ever since I've cleared from the virus.
There's been this incredible change in treatment in the last 5 years. It's unrecognisable to what it was 5 years ago. For most of the clients that I work with, they are homeless. They would not have been able to manage the old-style treatment of injections and daily tablets. They needed a fridge to store their medicine, which if you're homeless, you haven't got. And also it had some really horrible side effects, which were really difficult for people to manage. So effectively, we weren't really treating many of the clients that I see here 5 years ago.
We've had people approaching us directly because the word's out there in the community.
Building the confidence with them coming in, building that relationship, word of mouth. I know it's the slowest way, but it's the best way of getting them in and getting them treatment.
So the success rate really is very high, in excess of 95%.
Once I cleared of hepatitis C, it was immediate and it was wholesale. I had this immediate feeling mentally of life is going to be normal now. Finally, after 37 years, life's going to be normal. How important is the Hep C cure for the community? It's massively important. It saves people's lives, and it gives people hope, and it makes people into constructive human beings.
It is really unusual and unique to be able to be part of a once-in-a-generation opportunity to be involved in the complete virtuous cycle that leads to a cure.
The more we understand about diseases and disease states, they become more and more complex, and finding a cure sometimes can seem out of reach. So to actually be working on a trial with a medicine that's actually curing patients is something, it's kind of everyone that works in clinical research, it's their dream.
Do I feel grateful that I've been successfully treated? Damn straight I do. You know, it saved my life. I've got a second chance at life that I really didn't believe I was going to have.
If we had this 5 years ago, my brother would still be alive. With this treatment, we're saving lives.
I'm really thankful that there is a cure for HCV. It has meant that Damian and I have more time together.
I'm really grateful to be alive. If it wasn't for my hepatitis C cure, then I wouldn't have met so many good people and have such a great life. I'm really happy to be alive.